Don, how did you hear about our call? I don't think I've met you.
My friend sent it to me.
Awesome. Where are you joining us from, John?
New York.
Wow. Welcome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Which part of New York, John? I'm not in New York right now, but I'm from Brooklyn.
I'm upstate, Binghamton area.
I went to school in Rochester, RIT, my freshman year.
Yeah, I'm from the Binghamton area.
Nice.
Small world. Catalina, is that Catalina the loan officer?
Yes, it is.
Welcome to our call. So nice to see you here.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're in for a treat today. We have a really interesting discussion. I think it's going to be an eye opener for all of us. So I feel there's a lot of judgment. I know for me, before I started becoming more aware, there was so much judgment, and so then I became aware, and I was like, wait a second, the judgment is really the cause of our own suffering, right? When we start looking at ourselves and really get to a place of acceptance, really, that's when transformation happens. We could either spend our time looping in the mind with like all the this is right, that's wrong, we want to change this, and that can really consume our and take us away from really being present with life. So yeah, we're in for a treat. Welcome, Rose. We have our guest speaker here. It's 11 o'clock. We're getting people trickling in. I always say let's give it a minute or two just for the last few to trickle in. I'm sure we're gonna have quite a few. Welcome, Joanna. Welcome, Cruz. Welcome, Charisse. Welcome, Victoria. Glad to see you guys here. Victoria, where are you joining us from? I don't think I've seen you on our calls before.
Oh, you have. I spoke with you after the one. It's just
Oh,
I
that's
usually
right.
change my screen name when I'm in there. But hi,
Oh,
I
it
was
was a
just
different
typing in the
name. I
chat
think
to
it
say
was
thank
Ro
you for the
last time,
welcome.
right?
It's nice to see you too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was Ro last time, wasn't it?
Yep, I was actually just getting ready to change it too, and then I was like, I guess I can let it sit. It's whatever. So yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for the welcome. Thanks for hosting.
No, thank you for being here. We're glad to see you guys here, and we're in for a treat today. Definitely looking forward to having Rose present. She's very articulate in her expression, and yeah, we're definitely going to become aware of some things maybe we're not as aware. That's really the purpose of our space here. It's a space for expression, free of judgment, under the umbrella of acceptance and unconditional love. It's really like we're building tribe here, right? It's about just creating community where people can be seen, heard, and they can feel held, right? It's really that's one insight that I feel like we're all so closely held and connected. And really, this is kind of like that manifestation of what I feel life is. We're all connected, we're all held, we're all safe, and so this is a safe space for that to happen, for us to come together. So, anyways, it's 11:02. I'm sure we're gonna have some more people come in, but let's get our introduction started with Rose. We already talked about what this space is. It's a safe space for people to be seen, heard, feel held, safe, secure, and no judgment. And so today's topic and today's guest speaker is Rose Ann Leybag, and we have some more people coming in. She will be talking about acceptance and integration of your shadow self. Rose was born in the Philippines. She immigrated to the US at 16. She navigated a turbulent childhood without the support of her parents. She was raised in an abusive household, mostly by her aunt, and she lacked positive models and experienced a profound absence of love. This environment led to her to normalize abusive patterns that ran in her family lineage, seeking relationships to fill the void for the affection that she lacked growing up. Fueled by hate and turmoil, Rose hit rock bottom, finding herself in trouble with the law. She was determined, though, to have a transformation and break the cycle. She She made a pivotal decision to seek therapy 7 years ago, committing herself to a journey of healing, starting with EMDR therapy. And maybe she'll talk a little bit about what that's all about, as well as she progressed to IFS therapy and engaged in extensive inner child work. However, the most transformative breakthrough came when she began to accept her shadow self fully. Through this process, Rose discovered the true meaning of unconditional love. Now she is passionate about spreading that message of self-acceptance and love and embracing your entire expression, even the parts of yourself that you find hard to accept, which here we're naming shadow self. Rose will share how her life was transformed through self-love and embracing all aspects of her expression. Welcome, Rose.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited and nervous to be here. This is really my first time to talk about my life experience. I haven't talked about it besides my therapist who knows about my life. But yes, I grew up in a volatile household with a lot of rage, I would say violence and physical, verbal, and mental abuse. My dad left Philippines to immigrate here in America. I think I was only about I think between 2 to 4 years old. So it was just me, my sister, and my mom. And my mom was having a lot of mental illnesses, struggling with that. So me and my mother didn't really connect and bond because I was a difficult child for her, and she didn't know how to deal with it. So I was always sick, crying, and a very strong-willed, passionate kid. And if she don't obey, you don't listen to her, she would, she would beat you up. So she has a full of rage and a lot of physical um, abusive traits. And when I found out that the reason why she was like this, because her own mother gave her away to her aunt, and at a young age, she didn't even graduate elementary because back in the Philippines, it was very poor. She had to take care of her aunt's kids at a young age, and her aunt was also pretty abusive towards her. So you can see the ancestral um wounded that's passed down. So she didn't know how to deal with me. So to the point that like I experienced emotional neglect from her and a lot of emotional and physical abuse. When I would cry, she would attack me. And then her condition, her behavioral mental illnesses got worse to the point where she has a lot of rage. She would start, when she would get mad, I remember she would grab a knife and would start pointing knife, right? So it's very, very, very scary. And then so my aunt, which is my dad's sister, stepped, kind of became our caretaker. But then the abuse didn't end there. So we moved with my aunt, me, my sister, and my mom. My aunt was abusive too, physically, emotionally, and verbally. So now that me and my sister and my mom live with my aunt, who was our caretaker, so I've seen a lot of violence in the home where now my aunt and my mom are like going at it. But because my mom was by herself, and it's my aunt's house and her kids, so I've seen my aunt and her kids was abusing my mom physically. My mom had to do house chores. She had to finish house chores, or if she did something that my aunt doesn't like, my aunt would come at her and attack her physically. So there was a lot of that in the home, and this is all I knew. Growing up, all I knew was rage, violence, abuse, physically, where my mom was being beaten in front of me. And also growing up, my mom was also doing that to me when I was a child because of and you can see how it's this our family dynamic that I grew up. So one day I remember there was an incident that was really big at nighttime that my mom had to leave because she couldn't deal with the abuse anymore. So she left. I think I was only 8, and that was the last time I've seen my mother. I'm 36 years old now. So I think it's like 18 years. It's been 18 years since I've seen my mother. And she left, and now me and my sister at a young age live with my aunt. And the abuse continues. my aunt was very abusive. I remember that let's say she asked me to grab a fork and I gave her a knife or a spoon. She would grab my hair, my hair, and she'd be like, "You're fucking stupid." She would say things like that. And she was very controlling and it kind of like a paranoia. At that time I was young, so I didn't know. I was just so scared. I was growing up, I had a lot of anxiety. I remember going to school and coming home, I would be so scared because I'm like, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Did I do something wrong? Like, you can't leave the house until you finish all the house chores. And if you do, you know what's going to happen when you get home. You'll get beat up really bad. She would get mad at you for like small things, like fists, like, she was verbally abusive towards me and physically and mentally. Me and my sister suffered this. So what happened was that when she got sick, she had to leave and go to America, and that's finally when they can finally my dad get the papers so we can immigrate here. But I remember during with my time during my aunt's abuse, I was so scared. I remember she had I think I was only 12 years old around this time. She had she keeps a gun in her closet, and I didn't know there was depression at that time. Just when I was, healing my inner child, and then I remember I want to share this, and I never share this with anybody besides my therapist. I was in so much pain that in my head I'm like, where are my parents? Why no one could save me? So I took the gun from her closet, and then I was 12 years old when I want to kill myself because I couldn't live with the pain anymore. It was too much for me. In my head, I was like, I like I don't want to live. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I just didn't want to deal with the pain because I was getting abused, and this is all I knew since from my mom being a child all the way through my teenage years. So as you can see, because of this behavior of how I grew up and then moved in America when I was 16, so all my relationships um, also also I became just like my aunt and my mom. So I would have emotional outbursts, so much anger, and I normalized this behavior. I didn't know. I had no idea. Like I thought it was tough love, right? Like and I thought I was just a sensitive person full of emotion and anger until I got trouble with the law because of I was so angry, and then I got into, and then these are kind of things that I would ask myself why I couldn't control this. They said go for a walk, do this, do this. Oh, and I was reading a lot of self-developmental books to control my rage, my anger. But I didn't even know at that time that I was dealing with triggers, with trauma. I had no idea. And so I was arrested, and then that's when I finally seek out a therapist because I was like, I couldn't deal with this anymore. I didn't know what to do. I was feeling helpless. I need help, someone to help me understand what's going on. And that's when I first went to the therapist, and she said I have PTSD. And then we started with the EDMR therapy. Oh my God, that was like the best. When I first experienced it, I remember like this energy that I was held for so long coming out of my body. And then from there, I commit myself to healing. I never miss a therapy session. Every week I come, and then we do processing of EDMR. And then when my therapist retired, then I had a new one. And then this one is a different kind of therapy modality. It's called IFS, Internal Family System. This is when you get to know the parts of yourself. So I get to really dive into my inner child. I did a lot of inner child healing, processing all of my trauma. And this is what happened. And of course I love it, right? Because I can feel this energy coming out of my body, the triggers that I used to have that was so intense. it won't bother me as much anymore. I can regulate my nervous system now, and I have more self-awareness of where my behaviors are coming from. But then I realized that, and I got so good at it too, that I can process my own triggers and emotions. Well, not the big ones, but there are things that I can just sit down and then go back in time and then I can process it, and then I can feel that energy coming out of my body. But then I realized that I got to the point that I was using healing because I still don't love and accept myself. I got so hooked up into the healing that in my head that if I could heal, if I could get rid of all my triggers, then I will be better. I can finally be at peace. I can finally be happy. That was the idea. So I was using my healing because I didn't accept myself, because I want to fix myself. Because if I can get rid of all my triggers, I will never get angry. But somehow I didn't have a good relationship with my anger. I've seen anger, like I disown it, I reject it because it's bad. Anger is bad. It's not good. So I need to go to my healing to because I was rejecting it. And then one day, I don't know what happened in my therapy session, I met my shadow self for the first time. And that's when I felt this unconditional love. That all this time, I'm trying to get rid of this darkness and the shadow. When I realized at some point, they were developed because I had to survive, and they're part of me. And what they really need is that just understanding, compassion. They want to be heard. They want to be seen and acknowledged. They wanted to be understood by me. So when I started inviting them in and really listening to their pain and what they're going through, that I don't know how to explain, but that love, and I was crying and bawling, and then I was like, oh, because now I understand that unconditional love is not that I would only love you when you feel good and positive. Unconditional love is that I accept you and love you for the entirety of your own being. I love you for being exactly who you are, regardless of your feelings negative. I'm here to understand you and meet you with compassion. And then my shadow self starting to integrate. I no longer reject them or push them away. When they're coming out, these negative feelings or thoughts, I invite them in. Let's have a talk. What's going on? You can tell me. I'm not here to judge you anymore. I'm not here to push you. I'm not here to disown you. You are part of me, and I accept you and I love you. I love my darkness as much as I love my light. I no longer try to push them away. So I'm in this practice of self-acceptance. And that for me is unconditional love, because every time we try to make ourselves feel better, because I'm feeling anxious, I don't like this negative feelings, I'm angry. Basically, the message that I'm sending to myself is that it feels like I'm abandoning myself. Like, I don't love you. I will only love you if you feel good and if you feel positive and if you feel love. So that's the message that I feel like I'm sending myself. Basically, I feel like I'm re-traumatizing myself. It's the same thing how my aunt did to me. That you will only be accepted if you are feeling good. And that's when I realized that from now on, I'm going to start practicing full presence in my feelings. When I'm feeling all these emotions, this negative, difficult, heavy, we call this ugly emotion we don't like about ourselves, I invite them in. And I learn to accept them, that this is part of me. And that's when real change really starts happening. But again, this is not easy. This is a practice. There are still times that I would still be like, oh my God, why am I feeling this way? I don't like it, right? So this is a practice that I would do to, like, okay, I no longer fear the darkness, because I know that the shadow part of me has a message. It has something to tell me. And if I can really listen to her and then really meet her with compassion and understanding and give her my presence, and then we can connect and integrate. And then she calms down. And then she learned to trust me. right? Because that's what happened when you have trauma. There's no self-trust. And now you're learning to have that self-trust. So so that is the practice I've been working on, is that full acceptance of our darkness and our shadow, because I've been trying to get rid of it. I only want to be good, love, and all this. And I realized that's not realistic. That's not love. Love is I accept you for being who you are. All parts of you, I accept you. No matter what you're going through, no matter what is you're feeling, I'm here to understand you and meet you with presence. I no longer abandoning myself, because I remember when I would, like, oh, just go for a walk when you're feeling sad. So I would do that, right? But they always comes back, because what I was doing every time I'm trying to make myself feel better, because I couldn't deal with my negative feelings, with my intrusive thoughts. I would do something to distract myself, to help me, to do something to help me feel better. When what it's really want, I realize, is that my full presence. It wants to be heard. It wants to be understood. And that is the message that I want to spread. So yes. So thank you for listening. If you guys have any questions.
I appreciate you, Rose, for being so vulnerable and sharing your story. Like, I know personally, just hearing the story, there's so much emotion that comes up, and you're such a remarkable, strong, vulnerable in your strength, beautiful person, beautiful soul. So appreciate you sharing. I so appreciate what you just said about meeting your darkness with compassion and not running away from it. Um, wow, that's so powerful. I feel like for me, there's always this tug and pull when emotions become a little bit intense. You want to do like a spiritual bypass. You want to go for that walk. You want to distract yourself. You want to go numb. You don't want to face it. And then there's this, yes, I want to face it. And I appreciate that. That's what you're sharing with us. Um, that that there's nothing wrong. It's feedback. It's part of our experience. It's part of this beautiful canvas, this beautiful masterpiece of our life of contrast, embracing all aspects of it. You wouldn't have a masterpiece if it wasn't for all the contrast. You experience trauma, and now that has become your strength, and that's your healing power. That is your superpower, and you're sharing your love and light and darkness with all of us, right? And it's such a blessing, right? I'm so thankful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We usually like to open it up for reflections. We have Rose here with us. Any reflections, questions, thoughts, insights that anybody here, you're welcome to raise your hand, unmute yourself, and ask away.
Thanks, No. Hey, this is Michael. Can you hear me by chance?
I can. So we'll do Michael, and then Joanna raised her hand as well. Thank you, Michael.
Sorry, I'm on my phone. I didn't see.
Oh,
Joanna
no,
can
no,
go
no.
first.
That's okay. You can go first. It's up to you.
Okay. Sorry, I apologize, Joanna.
No
Rose, I
problem.
just wanted to say thank you for sharing your story. It was really, really a privilege to have you share that with me. I have somebody that I care about very much, and she actually spent 16 years in the Philippines before she came here to the States. And it just, breaks my heart to hear you tell your story, because I can relate to it in a lot of ways. One of the questions I wanted to ask is, I noticed while you were speaking that often, specifically when you talk about your mother and your aunt, you have a physical mannerism where you actually clasp your hands in prayer. And I wondered how potentially Catholicism and maybe my own ignorant perception of maybe some guilt concepts and shame that may have been misunderstood around that construct may have played a role in some of the incompassionate ways that you were treated growing up. And if that resonates with you, and if so, how you're able to see that experience now as an adult with new eyes, and any advice you might have for someone who had been through similar traumatic experiences and been beaten with a stick for being late for coming home, etc. I hope that makes sense. Thank you.
So the question was that like how Catholicism, like the religion, kind of plays a role in my healing. Is
Well,
that
I sorry, I explained it poorly. I guess what I'm saying is it seems like this concept of being beaten regularly, for doing things wrong with like no patience whatsoever, and kind of like taking out their own internal dialogue and overwhelmed traumatic feelings on their children, um, is kind of what I would call survival software, in a more village-based culture, that I'm familiar with, from my limited understanding. And so I'm just curious if you feel that that has any, if there's any connection there to, because I know that a lot of Filipinos are Catholic. And I just want, and again, I don't know a lot about Catholicism, but my ignorant perception of it is that there's a lot of guilt and shame about sin. And I just wonder if there's a connection there with like
Mm,
maybe your mom and your aunt were so hard on themselves for not being, in their mind, misunderstanding the teachings, if you will, not being worthy enough for God's love. And then somehow, because they hadn't
mm,
dealt with that, they were taking it out on you. I don't know if that
mm,
makes sense to you in any way, but that
yes.
is my limited perception. Thank you for listening.
Yes, no, I agree. In the Philippines, Catholicism is very big, where they're really devoted, devoted to 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 God, to Jesus, right? And but in my household, my both of my aunt and my mom are were not religious people. They're not. And actually, growing up, I would just we don't really go to church. It's I what I felt, it was like the reason why they're more that way is because of their own inner child wounded stage, or because of how they were treated when they were a child. And that could be in the Catholicism, where there's religion, because I remember my grandmother was very religious, so that probably could be passed on to my aunt, but because but then I remember we actually reject God or Jesus, because I was like, if it's real, then why, as a child, then why is this happening to me? So I didn't really connect with him. But later on in my healing, I became well, I lean hard to my faith now. I don't, I wouldn't call myself a religious person, but in more like in a universal
Yeah,
spiritual energy. That's how and I
absolutely.
still believe in Jesus, that now I can feel that, wow, I can feel that his love. I was so damaged growing up that I closed my heart to him. And now that I'm starting to open up, and yeah, starting to accept that the love and the guidance. But I
Beautiful.
understand what you're saying. So, and
Beautiful.
yes, it in other household, but not in my household. But I remember my aunt, my grandma was very religious, so that probably was passed on to my aunt.
Awesome. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much
Thank
for,
you.
I do have a follow-up question, but I want to give Joanna a chance to talk too. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, for sharing. Thank you. Joanna.
Hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. It's amazing. I'm 61 years old, and I will tell you, I'm on a spiritual journey right now, finding my faith and purpose in life. And I'm Czechoslovakian, and I'm like the second generation my grandfather's side, and he grew up in a Catholic orphanage, and he was abused.
Mm,
So coming over here, he didn't provide a loving environment.
mm,
And I grew up on the same with an alcoholic mother
mm,
who kind of abandoned her kids.
mm,
I mean, she had a house for us. My dad left when I was back in 1963, left my mom with 4 kids.
mm,
So I was raised by 4 brothers, and just I've had trauma with my marriages.
mm,
She tried marrying, and my family's like, you get married for a man. Do
mm,
you know what I'm saying? At
mm,
age 16. And my men relationships I've struggled myself.
mm,
Do you know what I'm saying? I'm
Yes,
almost in
yes.
tears hearing your story because it's like you just don't talk about it in society. Do you know what I'm saying? Families don't talk about mental illness.
Mm,
It's kind of like a closed setting. And my ex-husband tried to kill me, and
mm,
I got the right doctor, and he said, "There's nothing wrong with you. You have PTSD and anxiety." And they thought I had another disease.
mm, mm,
So I applaud you for coming forward and telling your story because it's like I said, I'm 61 and I'm trying, and it's passed down the generation to
mm.
generation.
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
have 3 daughters and they're coming out with a lot of stuff um,
Mm,
of their own childhood.
mm,
So,
mm. Thank you.
but my
Thank you for
but my faith,
sharing.
I found God in
Mm,
January through power of prayer because it was
mm,
affecting my health on
mm,
medication and stuff like that. And they thought I had another disease, but I don't. But power of prayer is healing me than modern medicine.
mm,
I mean, the well-known hospital here in California, Scripps, and
mm,
they failed me. It's like
mm,
they want to feed you medication instead of getting the therapy like you've gotten. Do you know what I'm saying? This is all new to me,
mm.
CBT and your therapy, so I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, yes. Yes, I understand. It's even for me too. When I first started in like, what do you mean PTSD? That only soldiers have PTSD. Like I thought it was I normalized the behavior, and when I've seen the difference in my emotional and mental health when I started the IFS, the EDMR therapy, and then move on to IFS therapy, it was such a big change. And I've never missed a week unless I'm sick or my therapist can't make it. But since then, for 7 years, I've been committed. And when I became a mother, I'm a single mother of twins. So my healing right now, it's much more a priority because I told myself the abuse stops with me. I I no longer want to carry that one and pass that. No, I so for me that my healing is a devotional practice, is something I am really committed to.
I'm hoping
So
to be like you once I get through my anxiety because I had a very powerful situation yesterday with a church friend member that I need to get
oh,
over before I can actually speak. But
mm,
generation trauma is there. Like my daughter, I haven't talked to in a long time, and she goes, "Mom, you're ending the generation trauma." And I
mm,
don't know how old you are, but she's like 36, 36, 38, and 40.
mm.
So I think that's awesome that you're coming forward.
Thank you. And also practice of self-forgiveness and being
Yes.
gentle with ourselves because we are doing the best that we can. And then sometimes we can't really force our healing journey. I learned to respect, to honor the timing of my healing journey because back then I was trying to force it. I was trying to like, if I can just get myself better. And the more I basically I it's like a punishment to myself. Like if I could fix myself because there's something wrong with me. And when I started letting go of that and then really practicing that like, hey, it's it's okay. We're not gonna get things all perfect all the time, but with compassion, with understanding, and forgiving ourselves when when we're not perfect. So yeah.
Have you heard of Louise Hayes?
Yes, yes.
She has powerful affirmation cards, and she has a book like How to Heal Your Life.
Oh yes, yes. I used to read the affirmation. I love affirmation.
Yeah.
It helped me a
Yeah.
lot. I would put them in my
So
car
true.
windshield, so while I'm driving, I can still. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you, Joanna. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Thank you, Joanna, for your reflections and also being so vulnerable and expressing yourself and your situation. Um, yeah, no, Louise Hayes, so I have the book handy here. You know,
Oh,
we're all
nice.
healers. We're all healers.
Yes.
I think
Mhm.
you talked about Rose was talking about the different therapies that she was involved in, and she referenced, I don't know if you guys caught that, she would feel this energy like leaving. And I feel like Louise Hayes, a good segue for that is that we're energetic beings. Really, we don't know how this works, but I know Western medicine really only deals with symptoms. A lot of times it's not really with the root cause. I feel like root cause is what causes illness. So it's an energetic, mental, emotional, spiritual. And so when we have an energetic imbalance, it manifests into illness. And so our bodies, you cut yourself, and what happens? It heals itself. From an energetic standpoint, how can we heal ourselves? Well, Rose enlighten us as far as different things she does and did, different therapies that help her release this energy that healed her, right? And look at her now. I mean, every time I see her in these calls and I met her once, like, her energy is just very soothing. She's very energetic, very positive. She's a vibe. And so she's
Thank you.
experienced deep healing. And so yeah, so I appreciate you sharing with us. Michael, I know you had a follow-up question.
Yeah. I was just gonna mention, I guess two things really quickly. One is that Rose, one thing that I really love about your story is that you talk about being open to and compassionate with both your dark and your light energy. Um, and I think that's so important, especially when we go back and revisit, childhood trauma. Words have power, and I think that we have a chance actually to kind of rewrite the words, if you will, that we tell ourselves about those stories in the past, right? A vision or a visual that I often think about in this way is kind of like a child who's been abused, that the abuser is like a monster and that they're running and hiding in a closet, if you will, right? And I feel that a lot of adults are still living in that closet, what I call quiet lives of desperation. And so what resonates with me with your story is that I think that when we go into that closet and we avoid the darkness and the fear, which often we all do at times, we also shut out our light, right? And so you think of that child in that closet, like they're hiding from the monster, but they're also hiding from the light. So really, in order for healing to happen, I think you have to be open to both. And I really just appreciate that you shared that aspect of your story. Um, my question actually is you had mentioned that you hadn't been home and visited your mother in a long time. And I'm sure you've spent so much time thinking about this with an intent. And I'd just love to hear your thoughts on, taking back some of that divine energy that you've been able to cultivate and sharing that with your mother in order to make transformational healing for her, but really an opportunity for you, I think, to readdress your past in a very meaningful way. Do you have any thoughts on that? Thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. I actually been having thoughts about that of healing the ancestral wound that my family has been carrying. And one day, I know one day that when when the divine timing is right, that I would meet her one day, and then I I believe she has like three kids, like a neighbor from the Philippines who came in. It was like years ago. I couldn't really remember because she lives in Chicago. Like, oh, your mom has three kids, and yeah, she said something about like it's a mental illness, and because therapy is not known in the really known in the Philippines, especially if you're poor. So she's in and I haven't gotten to that part yet, but I know one day that I really want to heal that mother energy, in my mother's side, and there's a lot, and there's also on my father's side too. But hopefully one day I can go back home. But I don't really know where she lives. Um, Yes, but I know, but I believe in the power of God, of the universe. When it's meant to happen, when it's the right
Exactly.
time, it will happen. It just
Exactly.
is. So I believe when they happens, and then we can reconnect again, and then but at this time I have no anger towards her. I forgive her because I know what happened to her, or all the things that she's done was also a result of her own trauma. that she's not even
Absolutely.
aware to. But
Yeah.
hopefully one day we can reconnect, and then but also at the same time, not I know it's when I say acceptance, it's not because like, oh, I want my mother to change and then also get it. No, I just, you know, see that, hey, I'm here. So we'll see what happens. I'll definitely keep you guys posted.
I'm excited. I'm excited for you. Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
just a note from the energetic perspective, sometimes this is just for all of us, right? This is just an awareness that I have. You know how sometimes you're interacting with people and you feel like a certain way, maybe like you feel clouded and not being able to express yourself. And really what that is really showing us, it's feedback where like there's some sort of imbalance present. And when there's an imbalance present, I don't know if you guys heard of Ho'oponopono. It's like this Hawaiian way to clear energy. There's other modalities, right? And so it's just a really simple one. So for example, Rose, with you and your mom, have you heard of Ho'oponopono?
I heard about it, but I'm not familiar. But I've
So
heard
basic,
about it.
so, I know you said you don't know where your mom's at, but for all of us, this is something that we don't necessarily need to be in the physical presence of the person that we have an imbalance where there's something there that's off-putting or we don't feel quite balanced or some energetic imbalance. All we have to do is simply presence them, right, in our head and just really like lean into what is that? And just simply do a hopopono, which is repeating like four phrases. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And just repeating it. And you mentioned through your process that you felt this energy dissipate from you. So you're doing the same thing. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And then at a certain point, you're just going to feel this lightness. And then you're going to have mental clarity. And then and whatever that energetic block, for lack of better
Wow.
words, it'll just simply, the energy will dissipate.
Well,
And then you'll be in a better energetic space. And when we're doing this, I know sometimes it's hard to forget people, right? But we're really not doing it for them. You're doing it for you.
Mm,
My
mm,
perspective is that there's no one out there. There's just simply
mm,
this, and everything's a mirror, and everything's a
yeah.
reflection and express. It's really how we're relating to the world. And so, if we're relating to the world in a way that's making us have a less than optimal experience, it's just about getting to a place of neutrality, balance, and functionality. And to do that, it's about clearing that energy.
Clearing.
For me, this awareness has been transformational in quieting my mind and just being in a experiencing more ease and flow and joy. Just I thought I share felt like the right thing to do since we're talking about most of us have issues or something with our parents. I know that was the case with me too. I won't go into it, but like, yeah, my dad used to beat my mom, but like, and then, religion and all these things that kind of like, are things that is something that we carry, whether we know it or not. So it's something that to become aware and then clear that energy, not for them necessarily. Great if we can come to a real state of peace with that, but for the sake of us and our own health and well-being, right? So it's so important. So I would encourage everybody maybe look at Hopopono. It's such an easy practice and it'll make you feel better. Like, and I know it makes me feel better.
Can you chat that? What did you say?
The Hopopono.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll go ahead and I'm gonna Google it and I'll put the definition with the words. You guys can just copy and paste that as well. In the meantime, do we have anybody else that has a reflection, um, something that they would like to ask our speaker, Rose? And I will grab that and put it in the chat. Iron, any reflections, thoughts? You're
Oh yeah,
unmuted.
I just wanted to say that I came in kind of late, but I came in when she was talking about like kind of like hugging herself and comforting herself, and I did that a little bit in the car. I've been really stressed lately with work, and it's like this hadn't happened to me in many years, but like the mental stress came down into the physical body, and I've had like horrible back pains these last few days, and my muscles were ache. I don't know, just like a couple different things, and that really touched me, and she was like, oh, you're doing okay, like to just give yourself grace and be gentle with yourself when you know, when you don't make the right decision, or are taking things too seriously, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. How
So
do you
thank you.
say your name?
Iron.
Iron. Thank you so much. I've dealt with that because we were so hard on ourselves, especially when we were always trying, we're in this fixing, trying to make ourselves feel better. It's like we are trying so hard and it's so exhausting.
Yeah.
And when I realized that I could just relax and just be here and then surrender. That word of surrender for me is big, and it's still a practice. Surrendering that everything is happening, everything is unfolding exactly how it should be. Trusting the timing of my life, trusting the healing of my life, and that everything is unfolding exactly as it should be. You don't have to try so hard to make things happen or to get. And I was in that. It was so exhausting. It's
Yeah.
overwhelming, and then you get easily irritated when things happening that doesn't go your way, and you start questioning it. Like, I'm doing everything right. I'm doing everything good. I'm making the right decision. Then why is not happen? Why the outcome is not? I'm not getting the results that I want. And that's when I realized when we're in that trying to fix stage, it's blocking the natural energy, the healing energy. So
Yeah. Thank you.
yeah. Thank you, Iron. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Looks like Renee raised her hand.
Hi, thank you so much. My first time here. Thank you, Rose, for your vulnerability. It's pretty powerful hearing your pain journey, but the hope in your healing journey. And I can resonate with some of the healing tools in the IFS. What I guess I was curious about a little bit, like we talked about the generational component. How old are your twins, and how are you relating to them in a new and
Oh,
healthier way? Thank you.
I love that question. Thank you so much. Um, for that, well, my twins are 4 years old. They're two boys, and the way I am relating was that we know that kids are full of emotions. They're full of expression. They get frustrated. They, especially they're twin boys, so they're always at it. So they would just get mad. And what IFS has taught me in healing is that anger, pain, all this are okay. Like, they're meant to be felt. We're no longer pushing them away. That's what I learned in my healing journey. Like, it's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel frustrated. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with us for feeling this. It's just emotion. We're meant to be felt. They're not bad, but we label them as bad. That's why we can't deal with our kids when they're having tantrums, when they're in this negative emotional state, because we couldn't deal with our own. And when I realized, like, the more I accept my pain and allow it to be felt and allow and invite it in, and that I no longer label myself, you're, I'm feeling anger right now, I'm a bad person. So I judge myself. No, I'm here. Anger, you're here. You're my friend. Let's talk. What's going on? Okay. Oh, so you're feeling this way. But you know what? And so I validate how they feel. I acknowledge how they feel. And I said, it's okay. There's not wrong or bad. Their feelings, their emotions. We're humans. We're emotional beings. This is us. And when we don't accept our human nature and reject it, I think that's when and we would show, because then we will have hard time dealing with our kids emotional too, emotional state, because we can't deal with us. We don't accept our own feelings. We don't accept our pain. We don't have a good relationship with our anger, and we will do the same thing with our kids. So that's what healing has done to me, is to accept these feelings, this negative, heavy feelings, and understand them, really understand them, and be present with them. And the more I do it, the more I am accepting of my twins' emotional um, turbulent outbursts, because I'm like, that's okay. You're feeling angry. That's fine. Mommy understands why you're feeling angry. Okay. And sometimes they just need a hug. It's like, oh, what I realize, when we acknowledge and validate and you give them a full presence, they calm down. It's like, oh, that's just, if you think about it, that's all we want, even from our parents, right? Our caretaker is someone who can be fully present with our feelings and emotions without trying to fix it or change it. They're just there and understand and present with you. It's a connection. And from there, okay, you regulate the nervous system. They move on with their day. Okay, I can go play because mommy understands. Okay, I'm okay now. And then so it's been so my kids are my mirror. They show me which part of me that needs more compassion, that needs more self-forgiveness, and that needs more understanding and love. So
That's beautiful. And I love the connection piece, right? Because before the old school was, put them in timeout, shun them,
yes,
lock those emotions away, come back when you're ready to be presented in a pure form.
yes,
So I love the fact that you can acknowledge and support it so that that energy can move forward and through them. And
yes.
they could be boys. God bless you with two young 4-year-old boys.
Thank you. I think what we need is to just really allow ourselves to feel these feelings. And we become so good at like distracting ourselves, running away from these feelings because it doesn't feel good. But again, this is a practice because our society or the way we were brought up, it's not something that we were taught. But we can really allow ourselves to feel and say that it's okay. It's okay to feel this way. There's nothing wrong with you, and really give yourself that grace. I mean, if you look at nature, right? There's the destruction, there's beauty, there's chaos, and it's not bad. It's not bad. There's destruction, there's rebirth. We see this, but they're not bad. It's part of the ecosystem. And as we're humans, we like to label things bad, good, bad, good. And we're just allowing ourselves. In the animals, we've seen it in the wild when they go through trauma, they shake their body. Our ancestors are actually very good at releasing trauma too. Like they know how they would go through the shaking, they release them. But for us, we suppress them, we reject them. We didn't learn the skills to deal with the emotional pain. We bottle them up. And later on, we'll see this manifest in our relationship and in our body. Thank you, Renee. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee, for asking such an impactful question. I love it. And your kids are lucky that they have a mom with that type of awareness. I grew up opposite. Like Renee said, timeout or you're punished. You can't express yourself. For me, it's been a transformation, like for Rose, to not make yourself wrong for anything really. Anything can arise and it's fine. Like we're like nature. You really think about it. We like to say that humans are separate from the earth, separate from creation, that we're the higher intelligence. But no, we're an expression of, part of whatever this is. I mean, we don't know how this works. We make up stories, and that's really anything that comes out of here is simply a story of us trying to make sense of the world around us and ourselves. But I agree 100% with Rose. Just by observing nature, we can see like how life works. And if we align ourselves with that, the way nature works, then we see, wait a second, unlike nature, there's nothing ever wrong, anything here. And then there's more compassion and acceptance, as Rose brought out, even of those sides that we judge maybe previously or maybe we're still judging wrong. And there's freedom and liberation from the mental chatter. When there's freedom and liberation from the mental chatter, those things that we judge wrong, maybe they drop away because, like nature, we're in different seasons. And the awareness is part of that dropping away and part of that healing that just naturally happens. I love what Rose said. She was in this cycle of forcing, like, I need to heal. I can't face this. I need to heal it. I need to get rid of it. But no, be like nature. Everything just naturally happens at the right time. That was a beautiful insight. Thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing that with us.
Well, it's like in today's society, when I was raised, we were seen and not to be heard. That's the baby boomers. We were raised to wear a mask.
I hear you saying that. That was a thing too. Yeah, I remember that saying. Children shouldn't be seen and not heard. Yeah.
Yes, yes. because it wasn't safe for us to fully express ourselves because of all the past trauma that we've been through. So we learned to hide ourselves. But the more we really embrace our true selves, like like we can really express ourselves, and that's when creativity, abundance, your authenticity comes out. Because what happened with the trauma, it kind of obscure your true selves, right? It gets in the back, like it's not safe to express my true self because you will get punished. And the more we really go into this healing of accepting ourselves, our true selves emerge. It's safe now to express our authenticity, and that is when you really like shine. And I've been feeling that energy too. Like I think I'm slowly getting into like, oh, embrace my true self. So let it come out, unleash who you truly are. And the way to do that is if we can really accept all parts of ourselves, because we're no longer hiding, afraid. I don't want to be seen. Now we can be like, it's safe to express.
I love that expression. We're like the way you're describing it, I see like a flower that's blooming,
Yes.
it's growing. And that's what happens, right? When we fully accept ourselves, we had the clamps on the flower, we were trimming it, we weren't allowing the expression, but when you allow that expression, then all the beauty that we are, I really feel like we are love expressed in form. When you look at nature, nature doesn't judge anything, it simply is.
Mm,
The sun comes
mm,
out for all of us, regardless of how we think that this person shouldn't, even exist, or they're just horrible or whatever, or even our own self-judgment. It comes up for all of us. Nature doesn't judge, it just simply is. It's beautiful and natural. And so we are
yeah,
like nature, letting ourselves bloom,
exactly.
dropping the judgment.
Oh,
So we're
beautiful.
down to the wire. We have about 5 more minutes. Is there anybody else that has an expression, a reflection, a thought, an inspiration, a question? I know we have uh, more people here on the call. Maybe you want to ask something, this would be your chance. Um, Victoria, Mango, Renee, Catalina, Jonathan.
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that showed up this morning and was willing to have this conversation. Definitely helped improve the quality of my day. And I want to say thanks to Noe again for, really leading with love to create these opportunities and experiences with a dedicated and committed heart. And I hope to see you guys again soon. I'm sorry I wasn't on camera today, and I will try to attend these more regularly in the future. Appreciate y'all.
Appreciate you showing up and all your insights, Michael. You're so aware. Appreciate your energy and what you bring to the table and on all of our calls, previous calls and this call. Thank you, thank you. Definitely look forward to seeing you again.
I will add too before I go. It's okay, men, to get help. You know what I'm saying? Because I had a brother commit suicide because it was like not the manly thing to do is to reach out to people, but do reach out.
mm,
Right. And so that's really what this space is all about, is creating a safe space for people to feel like you can express yourself and it's okay. Um, I grew up that wasn't even a thing. I never really saw anybody expressing themselves, especially men. You know, I mean, I grew up in a religious household and there was religious expressions, but it had to be within the confines of what was acceptable and righteous in the eyes of God. A lot of dogma, really heaviness tied to it. So growing up, I didn't even know. I mean, we're all doing the best we can, but this space is to open our eyes and feel safe. It's a place for us to feel held, to feel loved. And so, like, what's coming through here is connecting with people deeply, giving the gift, and creating like what I call is a heart tribe, a safe space, a community where we come as we are and we could just unload. Let that, I know Rose is saying, they used to shake off the energy back in the days. I mean, sometimes we're shaking off the energy with our vocal cords, right? We're letting that pent up energy out. And that's really the healing intention here. I mean, as I say that, like I just start buzzing because that's what this place is about, to let it go, to feel heard, to know that you're loved, to know that there is community out here that cares. And it's not a religious vibe. This is just a heart vibe, right? This is what this is all about. Everybody's accepted. You know, nobody's turned away, you know, but it's just an intention. And it's just something that it's not just me. I've talked to a lot of people that are doing stuff like this, and it's just something that I don't know how this works. I mean, I like to use the word consciousness, you know, source, that intelligent energy, God, so many words we don't really know. But whatever that is, it's coming through, not just here, everywhere. Obviously, through all you guys too, right? Otherwise, we
Yeah.
wouldn't be here together. And I'm just simply following the breadcrumbs and that inspiration and that intuitive voice that says, do this. And so that's why we're here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's
Thank you.
beautiful.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Noe.
Thank you,
Thank
Rose.
Thanks,
you. Like
everybody. Have a
your
great day. Thank
energy
you.
is more like coming from the heart. It's like when we come from here, trust that you are gonna be guided every step of the way. Because sometimes the brain overthinks too much. It gets in the way. But it's actually in the heart. It's our intuition, our inner compass. Well, thank you guys so much. I enjoyed being here.
Oh,
Talk.
thank you,
Alright.
thank you, Rose. Just the last note. So next week we have an author on divorce, the divorce upside, you know, how
Oh
to
wow.
integrate a divorce. Her name is Christy. She wrote a book, and it'll be what is it, Josh? Next Wednesday at 6. So if anybody's going through breakups, doesn't need to be a divorce, I mean, relationships. I've been through a lot of that stuff. So
Yeah.
I mean, I read about half her book, and I mean, so timely the advice she's giving us. She's going to be a wealth of knowledge too. So another great speaker presenter. Thank you,
Nice.
Rose.
Thank you, Noe. Thank you, guys.
Okay,
Bye.
bye, guys.
And will this be the same link for that author?
It'll be a different link. I have one for Thursdays that's very consistent as far as the Zoom link, and then the Wednesday ones are very consistent. The same link on Zoom for Wednesdays, but I'll be posting it on the Facebook group, as well as if you're on our mailing list. If you signed up that way, then a notice will go out. A couple notices will go out actually for everybody, alerting them for the next
And
call.
thank you. And the Facebook group name is,
Healing Conversations.
okay,
So
I'll
it'll
look
have the
for
same
it.
logo. Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah, love you guys. You guys have a good day.
See you soon. Thank you, Noe.
Bye. Thank you.